This afternoon is just a short one. The business environment in Ghana has been touched on by His Excellency the Vice President. The Governor of the Bank of Ghana has also given you the macroeconomic fundamentals. Now, my simple assignment is to delve straight into the oil and gas industry and tell you what we've been doing so far and what is at stake for you if you decide to come to Ghana's waters to explore for petroleum. So, by way of outline, I will take you to a number of issues. The sedimentary basin of Ghana. We will also get to know the history, how this whole journey began for Ghana. I will also get you to know the current acreage, whether we have still more acreage for you if you decide to pick up blocks. And then we will know the legal framework that is existing, the institutional arrangement, the overview of some activities in the industry, then the meat of the whole presentation on the investment opportunities. And I promise you, we have a lot of them for you investors here and the Ghanaians in diaspora. So Ghana has 4 sedimentary basins. 3 of them are offshore and 1 of them is onshore. The 3, we have the East Keta Basin, we have the Central Basin or the Salt Pond Basin, and then we have the Tano Basin. Some people call it the Western Basin or the Côte d'Ivoire Basin, but because of boundary dispute, we don't want to use the Côte d'Ivoire Basin again. The onshore basin has to do with the Petroleum Basin, and that takes about 40% of the land mass of Ghana. And so we have a lot of area available to do exploration. By way of history, the industry started way back before I was born. 1896, I guess no one in the room was born by then. That is when people discovered oil seeping from the ground in the western region, onshore. So we have all this well known we had oil. But also where to find it in commercial quantities was the issue. In 1978, a number of investors came together, did a lot of exploration, found oil in commercial quantities at the Salt Pond Basin, and that led to that Salt Pond field being developed, had commercial production until recently when a directive was given for decommissioning after production was not economic to sustain operational costs. In 2007, we were blessed to have oil in commercial quantities by the Jubilee partners led by Talo and the Anadakos and Cosmos. And we had first commercial production in 2010. And this was one of the fastest development period you could have in the world. And it was all because we laid the fundamentals right for investors so as to reduce the time it takes from discovery to development. Just after this, one would ask, was that all? No, we had 24 more discoveries after this, and some of them have been developed and are currently under production. The Petroleum Basin is also there. We have activities going on. As investors, we want to reduce your risk for you. So we have taken it upon ourselves to do reconnaissance studies to give you indication of the possible geographic play underground so that you can pinpoint which areas you think could find oil. And then by 2018, we had gas from the Sankofa field, which was one of the fields that was discovered as part of the 24 fields. Now let's see the acreage. We have a lot of activities going on in our Western Basin. And that shows that when one makes a discovery, there is the probability of you finding something adjacent to it. So most of the activities are concentrated at that side. And we have a lot of players in this industry, led by Tullow. And Tullow is one of the significant investors in our upstream industry, with about 15 billion invested so far in the 10 and the Jubilee project together. Cosmos, ENI are also doing fantastic in our waters. And you can see a whole lot of lists. And as the Vice President said, recently we had Aker, which is a Norwegian company, coming in to take over from Hess, and is prepared to spend about 17 billion to develop the deep water tunnel Cape 3 Point block. By way of legal and regulatory regime, it is sometimes said that the oil and gas industry is uncertain. And we believe that we should leave the uncertainty to the geologists. But when it comes to the legal framework, there is no room for uncertainty. So as a country, we have laid down a number of laws to make things clear for you as an investor. So you come in and you don't operate under uncertainties. And as time goes on, if we find certain things ambiguous in our laws, the Petroleum Commission comes in to develop guidelines to clarify these things. So right from the onset, you know what is expected of you and what is expected of the government. By way of institutional arrangement, who are the players you are going to deal with when you come into Ghana's petroleum sector? You will first of all deal with the Ministry of Energy. That is the owner of the resources on behalf of the government, or on behalf of the people of Ghana. So they make policies and guide us to how we should go. The Petroleum Commission is also there as the regulator of the upstream industry and also the resource manager. And then we have GNPC as purely commercial entity that always carries the interests of the government in the commercial issues when it comes to the upstream oil and gas industry. Now let's see, what do we have? We have Jubilee as the major field in Ghana with over 640 million barrels of oil that is still in the ground that has to be produced. Currently, we have daily production of 75,000 barrels per day. We have ever hit the 110 barrels per day before, but due to the current issue about the turret remediation, we are operating under capacity now. But we hope to get to 120,000 barrels per day when we get the full implementation of the Greater Jubilee Plan of Development. And that is just tying in satellite fields around the Jubilee in order to make them commercial for production. We also have the 10 field. That is also owned by the Tullow, Cosmos, the same Jubilee partners own the 10 field as well. And this has 245 million barrels in there. All this shows you that when you make a discovery, unlike the North Sea and other places, whilst the reserves are small, Ghana's field is highly prospective. And so when you come in there, your chances of making huge discovery of reserves is high. We have the OCTP project that also has about 173 million barrels of oil and 30 million barrels of condensate that will be stripped from the natural gas. And then we have 1 trillion cubic feet of gas. That is really huge for local demand. We expect to transport or export 171 million scarf per day for Ghana's domestic use of gas. And then we will also have 47 million barrels of oil daily from this field. And that is really significant. There is yet another field coming up, which is operated by Aker, the Norwegian company. And this field has 7 discoveries, which have all been appraised. And we are likely to have 110,000 barrels per day when this field gets on stream. And so Ghana's production by 2021 is likely to go beyond 250,000 barrels per day. We also have the Voltaire Basin, which I mentioned earlier on. Currently, GMPC is doing reconnaissance studies to find leads, prospects, that investors will be interested in taking the acreage there for exploration. Now, what are the real opportunities? That is why we are here. I'm happy to announce to you that we have a number of operators who are looking for partners to farm into their blocks. I will specifically mention the Erin block, which is in shallow waters. And the good thing about that is that there are some discoveries already there. And if you find some additional reserves in addition, it will be commercial, and then development will set in. You should also talk about the UB resources, also talk about Eco-Atlantic. They are all in the Western Basin. And one good thing about it is that we would have available infrastructure already in place. So once you find anything, you just tie back into the existing infrastructure, and that is what is happening in the North Sea. You just tie back into, that is the third-party access to infrastructure. You just tie back, and right on, you start production, and you make your money. So we shouldn't let this opportunity go. The Petroleum Commission is ready to facilitate your discussion with these already existing investors and for you to take up these blocks. One important thing you must know is just recently, 15th October this year, the President launched the first licensing round for Ghana. And that is a very great milestone we've chopped so far because we are moving forward to create transparency in the award of blocks. Now, blocks will be awarded on open competitive bidding. We have 6 blocks now to be allocated. One is to go to Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, and they would now have the option to choose a strategic investor to partner with them to operate that block. And that looks close to the land, and so the water depth is not that much. We have already data available on that block, so we don't expect any downside issue. It's always going to be an upside. You have block 2, 3, and 4, which will be open on tender for private individuals or private entities. And by law, you cannot operate a block in Ghana without GMPC, so obviously you would have to partner with them. But you would have to come forward as an individual entity or through consortium. And we have a lot of criteria down there to evaluate all those who would come in to bid. And the last 2 blocks, the block 5 and 6, is available for direct negotiations. That is so because they are in deep waters, and it requires special technology, special track record in order to exploit those blocks. So we want to invite people to come through direct negotiation to get that. Why must you come and participate in these licensing rounds? The justification is simple. We have one of the most attractive fiscal regimes in the sub-region. There's no doubt about it. Check from the neighboring countries, check all the way through Nigeria, all the way the West Coast down to Angola, and find the rate of return that investors make on similar projects that they do. If you are in doubt, ask the Talos and the Cosmoses. Ask them. It's open facts. They will tell you. We generate the highest rate of return for investors in our upstream because we give incentive in the form of the fiscal regime to attract them. We have also de-risked our basins. We have so much of data available for you to now interpret and make your observation as to whether to drill this prospect or not. We also have availability of infrastructure. We currently have 3 FPSOs already existing on our waters. And so and they are strategically located. And so if you find something close to these areas, it's a matter of having a negotiation to tie back into these FPSOs, not the need to build a whole new FPSO. And then we have a well-defined maritime boundary. And just recently, the ITLOS ruled in our favor to demarcate our boundary for us. So we don't have any dispute with our neighbors when it comes to maritime boundaries. Now, we have other opportunities which are mostly support services for the upstream industry. Any operation in the exploration phase will require rigs. And so we invite investors to come in to provide these rigs. We also have a dedicated shore base which has to be set up, and a whole lot of opportunities. Currently, the Petroleum Commission is in discussion with the Tema shipyard to revamp that facility and make sure that the FPSO that we use on our waters, greater portion of the modules are fabricated in country so that the money spent stays and improves our GDP. We also have material supply, casings, tubulars. We come all the way Aberdeen to pick them. We go all the way Gulf of Mexico to pick them. We have the capacity to set up factories in Ghana to produce this thing because our industry is not going to die out today. It's a long-term industry. So it makes economic sense to set up these factories in Ghana and produce them here. In summary, our industry is one of the best. No doubt about it. We have production likely, daily production likely to hit 200,000 barrels per day by the end of this year. We have created transparency. We have set our regulatory framework clear. We also have good governance in our management of the resources. And then we have conducive socio-political environment, security for investors to come. I end on this note. Thank you. You are welcome.
Thank you so much.